Okay, good. Well, thank you all. Well, we're here obviously today. The DNC, myself, and some of my colleagues, we've been canvassing throughout Florida the last couple of days. We were in DeLand, Florida yesterday, and of course here in St. Augustine. I just got back from knocking on doors, and I'll tell you the response has been overwhelming for Josh Weil. We have a real shot to win this on Tuesday. And I'll tell you, we've seen that around the country in recent weeks. There's been 14 special elections since Donald Trump was inaugurated on January 20th. And Democrats have overperformed in 13 of those 14 elections. Yeah. And we're seeing that alone just this last week in Pennsylvania, right, where we flipped 2 legislative seats. One of them helped us win back the state House majority, and another seat that hasn't been represented by a Democrat since the 1880s. It's a plus 23% Republican district, and we won that in Pennsylvania. Yeah. That same energy, yes. Now look, we know that Josh has been running a very, very, aggressive, energetic campaign, and we can see that not just here in this office, but throughout the district. And we're confident that we not only are going to overperform on Tuesday, but that we're going to win this seat. We feel really good about our chances because you have a highly energized campaign running on the issues that people in this district care deeply about. Folks are really frustrated by the cuts to Social Security and Medicaid and Medicare. People are frustrated by the attacks on our veterans, on our teachers, on our children. What they're seeing in this country is not just an abdication of American values, but it's an abdication of the values that most Floridians expect out of their elected officials and out of politicians. And so we're seeing people from all walks of life, from all parts of the political spectrum, saying, enough is enough, and standing up and fighting back right now. And I'm so proud of folks here in St. Augustine, in this office in particular. I walked in this morning, got my packet, and I was so energized to go out and door knock. And we were out there door knocking in the rain, and you can tell, you still see people coming in. They're not quitting just because it's raining out there. They're highly energized and ready to go. So we're super excited. I'm so glad to be here, and I'm happy to answer any of your questions.
Easy question. What is victory going to look like in this race?
Well, look, obviously we want to win. A victory for anyone, of course, is winning the election. But I also think, look, if we come up short, the reality is this is a 30% district, right? And I'm absolutely confident we're going to overperform expectations in this district. I think we can win. I feel it. I really do. But I'll tell you what, Josh has already run the type of campaign that has brought people in, has brought the NPAs in, has brought even some Republicans, has energized Democrats. That's already a victory, right? And at this moment right now, after this last election in November, what the Democratic Party and what Democrats here in Florida and right here in St. Augustine needed was a shot in the arm. And we already have had a victory because his campaign and the great volunteers here have already given us that shot in the arm. The idea that there's hope, that we can actually, when we organize, make a difference, move the needle, energize and galvanize the energy that we're seeing throughout this country and particularly this community. So we've won already, and on Tuesday we're going to win again.
Yeah. I also wanted to ask you a question about the new Jacksonville immigration bill. I know you may not be familiar being the national chair. It essentially just provides funding for Jacksonville Sheriff's Office to have fingerprint readers to check for anyone arrested, see if they're documented, and if not, now there's local penalties to make it illegal for being in Duval County illegally, and they could be arrested, put in jail for 30 days. What's your reaction to seeing the first in the nation legislation like that right here in Jacksonville, and how does that kind of mirror the national efforts?
Well, look, I know Mayor Deegan is considering her options here and what to do. I think she's made it clear that she feels this might be redundant with both state and national and federal laws. So she has a lot to consider there. But I think the real question here, right, is Republicans aren't really interested in finding solutions on the border or on immigration. In fact, all they want is chaos. If they were really interested in solutions, they would have joined with President Biden and Democrats last year in actually signing one of the toughest border security bills that we've ever seen. But they didn't. Donald Trump killed that. And they're just interested in chaos. They're not really interested in solutions. I'm proud of the mayor for actually looking at this through the lens that she has to, which is, does this really help accomplish what it needs to for people in Jacksonville? And so, and again, we're going to defer to her. This isn't a partisan issue. The mayor's got to make a tough decision here, and we'll support that.
And just to finish on like second part of that. When we talked to the sheriff, basically on his proponent of the bill, he said, hey, we're not just rounding up immigrants. These are people who have already committed crimes, DUIs, battery, etc., and we're deporting them if they've committed crimes. What's maybe your counter-argument or still existing concerns beyond that argument?
Well, again, look, I don't know enough about the actual legislation that's being proposed to comment. All I would say is, again, Democrats are serious about making sure that we have an immigration policy that is comprehensive. We need comprehensive immigration reform in this country. We need a tough border security bill. We've put solutions on the table. The Republicans continue to walk away from them. They're not serious about actually finding solutions. They're only interested in the chaos of it all. And so, you know, these are tough conversations that Democrats and Republicans need to have together to figure out the right solution as we move forward, right? And, you know, I'm not interested in, you know, really digging into, you know, the decisions that local elected officials have to make, because I defer to them. They know more about what's best for their community. But what I would say is that Republicans need to be serious about this issue and stop playing games with it, because if they were real serious, they would join Democrats trying to put real solutions on the table.
In your travel so far around the area, do we expect a good voter turnout? Have we had positive reactions to it so far?
Yeah, look, I mean, everywhere I've gone, and, you know, I've spent the last 2 days canvassing throughout this district, people are excited. You know, a lot of time in special elections, they're low turnout affairs. People aren't aware. They're not really tuned in. In many cases, they don't even know there's an election going on. But what I've been really surprised and quite buoyed by throughout the 2 days I've been here canvassing is that people are not only aware, many of them have already voted or they're going to vote in the coming days, and that is really exciting because you don't see that throughout the country in these low turnout special elections. I don't know what to expect in terms of turnout here, but certainly based on the conversations, I think you're going to see a high turnout. So,
going right off of that, how important is it, can you just state the message of how important it is to go out and vote? It may not be a presidential election, but these votes matter in this case.
well, it's always important to vote, whether it's a presidential election, a local election, a special election. Elections have immense consequences, right? And we see that all the time. And unfortunately, when people don't vote and you get stuck with people who don't have your values in mind or don't have your best interests in mind, bad things happen to communities, bad things happen to people. And on the flip side is when you get out and vote, and you vote for what you want, you vote for people who actually give a damn about your life and who are going to care about governing in the best interests of communities like St. Augustine, then you get good results for people, right? And I think what we're seeing right now throughout the country is a lot of buyer's remorse. People voted for Donald Trump and J.D. Vance thinking that they were going to actually improve their lives. They were going to bring down the cost of goods and maybe make their lives more affordable, maybe make the American dream seem a little bit more in reach so people could actually get ahead in life, not just get by. Many of those people I've talked to throughout the country these last 6 weeks in my time as DNC chair are so frustrated because they believed in that promise and now they're being sold down the river. There is a lot of buyer's remorse right now in this country. We're seeing Republicans swing quite a bit our way. We're seeing independent voters swing heavily our way. We're seeing Democrats energized, Republicans demoralized. And what that means to me, for me, as we head into this special election here in a couple days, is that's a perfect recipe for a surprise. And these folks aren't surprised. They've been hearing it for weeks. They've been seeing it on the ground. They've been having conversations with folks here and throughout this district, and they know that it's possible, right? Why am I here? Well, I'm here because I support all the work that these folks are doing. I support our candidate. And when I ran for this office, I ran on the idea that we have to get the DNC out of D.C. And people said, what are you talking about? You talking about moving the headquarters to Florida? No. What I'm talking about is this. It's a simple mind change. That we have to compete everywhere. We have to organize everywhere because I believe when you organize everywhere, you can win anywhere, including in ruby red districts like this. This is an opportunity. We have an energized electorate, an energized volunteer corps. The momentum is in our direction, and we need to take advantage of the opportunities in front of us to build to win right now and build to win in the future. That's what I'm most excited about.
And as you've gone door to door and you've talked to people one-on-one and these families, what are the top 2 or 3 issues that they keep bringing up that are common themes?
Yeah, economic issues, right? I mean, people are feeling like they're working 2, 3 jobs, can't get ahead, feeling like, you know, the price of groceries, the price of gas, the price of other goods are, you know, sky high. They can't quite get ahead. They feel like people don't see them, don't hear them. They frankly feel that government isn't going to make a difference in their lives. It never has. People are disillusioned, right? And so we need to give them hope. We need to give them a sense that their better days are in front of them. It's issues, you know, like affordability for sure, but it's also deep concern with what they're seeing in the administration right now, threatening to cut Social Security, right? Making it harder for people to get their Social Security benefits. You know, cutting Medicaid and Medicare, the attacks on our veterans, that's a big issue right here, as you know, right? Veterans throughout this district are so frustrated by what this administration is doing to people who serve this country. How can we turn our backs on veterans? How can we turn our backs on seniors? How can we turn our backs on children? I mean, we have a measles outbreak in this country. For the first time in decades, kids are dying of measles, and our government seems to not care about it. These are the issues I'm hearing at the door. Deep frustration, deep concern, and really around their families' lives and around their own economics. Kitchen table issues. People are quite pissed off, if I'm being honest.
Any final thoughts?
No.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Oh, thank you.